You now tuned in to the Gumptown Podcast. I'm your boy Doug B. We ain't got nothing to talk about, but we got something to talk about. Let's go. Good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast. This is episode 2. I'm your boy Doug B. First things first, if you tuned in, listen to this podcast, I want to thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate it. Today's guest is my brother from another mother. He's the founder and owner of the Plugg, as well as Pop's Landscaping. You all will be inspired by his story, as well as what he has going on in business. Without further ado, let's give a warm Gumptown round of applause for TK, also known as Tony W. Sanders.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on, Doug B.
TK, what's going on, bro? How you feeling?
Hey, I'm feeling pretty good, man. Like I said, I appreciate you having me on, and it's an honor, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, I was going to thank you for your time, and I appreciate you taking time out your schedule, man, to chop it up with me for a few minutes.
Okay. What you got for me, big bro?
No, don't do that. We ain't doing that. No, man, but yeah, man, super excited to have you on, my brother. Really appreciate you, man. We go way back, man. We've been friends since 2006. We met at the Alabama State University, the greatest HBCU in the world. Yes, sir. So TK, so for the people who don't know you, man, tell them a little bit about your story, where you from, and how you got to where you are now.
Okay, just to give you a very brief overview about myself, I am TK, also known as Tony Wall Sanders. To give you a quick overview, I was actually born down in Birmingham, and probably by the age of 3 or 4, my mom decided to take me up to Evansville, Indiana. That's where I pretty much got into, like, I was into trouble a little bit, and I became a person of pretty much the system, the state of Indiana, where I was in the boys' home, foster homes, and things like that until probably around the age of 11 or 12, whereas my biological uncle and auntie, they came up to Indiana, got me, and brought me down to Montgomery, aka the Gump, and pretty much installed like great values in me. I went to Peter Crump. That was my first school. After that, I went to McKee. My class was the first class to graduate from McKee. Well, before that, my fault. So Peter Crump, Brubaker, then McKee, and my class was the first class to graduate from McKee. Then after that, I went on to Lanier High School, the L, and played football. And then around 2006, when I graduated, I went to the Alabama State University, where I did meet Doug B at. Met a brother from another mother, like he said, dear friend to me. And just I graduated from Alabama State with a degree in CIS. And after that, I pretty much moved around. Ended up in Savannah, Georgia, where I first became a manager at a shoe store, and just from there, my hustle story really took off, because as a manager, you pretty much connected with the shoe game, and I had a lot of people who would hit me up and say, "Hey, I throw you an extra something for if you are able to give me a shoe. So I just took that and really ran with it. Uh, as well as the store was pretty small. So I used to go around the city and like buy caps, New Era hats from other stores, and I would like sell them out of the trunk of my car. And uh let's say a person came into my shoe store and they bought a pair of shoes. My store was kind of small and we didn't really have that many hats. So I used to lock the door and take them out to the trunk of my car and pretty much just sell hats. So, and that's just a small, uh small little bit about myself. Other than that, that's it. That's
Wow,
how we
man.
got here today, man.
Wow, man. What a powerful story, man. Started in Birmingham, moved to Indiana, and ended up in Montgomery. And through it all, man, you just always kept pushing. You always had that survival mentality, man, that never give up attitude, which is one of the main reasons I have so much respect for you, my brother. So, how much? So, what role did the what role did the Gumptown play in your overall development as a man, as an entrepreneur, and just who the person you are? I know you mentioned your uncle and your auntie; they instill great values in you. If you would elaborate on some of those values that your uncle and auntie instill.
Well, pretty much coming from Indiana, more so had the individual mindset. Uh, it's just me and my brother pretty much. So I had an individual mindset when I did come down, and we stayed pretty much in the country area, uh, Patterson Road, pretty much by I think it's called Brapon. Uh, and things that we used to have to do is like I was a city boy before that, coming from Evansville, Indiana, and my uncle, he pretty much he didn't play that. He, on Saturdays, whereas I would just watch cartoons all day, and like in Indiana, I would watch cartoons all day and pretty much play the game. Well, being down in Montgomery was the total opposite. Saturday mornings, in the morning, we was up cutting the yard. We was cutting grass, picking up sticks, and things like that. So if that wasn't done, we weren't able to go and play and etc. and do other things that a young person would want to do. So he installed like discipline, work until you get it done attitude. So from there, like I said, discipline was installed, family, love, great values just was installed all into a already hustler mindset. So I use those values still in my everyday life now. So
Nah, man, that's great, man. That's great, man. Your uncle, aunties, and just Montgomery in itself played a huge role. And like you said, your discipline, your work ethic. Well, you already had the work ethic, but when you add in discipline along with the work ethic that you have, like it's no wonder why you grind the way you grind for your businesses. So let's talk about your businesses, man. We'll start with the plug. I know you were saying that you first got the aha moment to start the plug when you were working at a shoe store down in Savannah. So you pretty much already answered that question. What was the aha moment that where you had the idea to start a landscaping company?
well, as well as when I was younger, my uncle had a friend down the street who he cut grass every weekend as well, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Saturdays that we weren't cutting our own yard, he would come down the street and pretty much pick us up. And for every yard we cut, we got $10. So I would try to cut as many yards as possible, 9 or 10 at the max, uh, maybe 6 or 5 at the minimum. So I got $50, $60 that Saturday. And maybe that Saturday night, I'm going to the skate ring, to spend my own money. Or I always had a hustler mindset when I was younger. So either I was taking that money and I was investing it into candy, and I would go to Walmart and buy like the 10 packs of Snicker bars, Reese's, and things like that. And I would take that money and invest it, and I would flip it throughout the week while I was at school. So I was also the candy man. I was also the candy man in like middle school and things like that. So, uh, but then again, it all falls back on my uncle and the networks and the connections he was able to have, in which led to me having a mindset of, hey, when I get older, I love to cut yards. I love to see like yards popping out and standing out. So I'm gonna continue this legacy. So I'm gonna create a landscaping company, and sooner or later I can pass it down to my kids, and we want pretty much, if they want to look for a job outside of it, they can, but pass something down to my kids. So that's pretty much was that aha, that moment that clicked in my head that made me bring the landscaping idea up.
No, that's great, man. That's great. So basically, just from again going back to your uncle, he instilled those values in you, and you were cutting grass when you were a kid. So pretty much that aha moment came to you when you were a kid, because you realized then as when you got older, you wanted to create your own landscaping company. Now that's dope, man. So the next part of it is the action step. How long did it take you from the time the idea of Pop's landscaping and as well as the plug came into your mind? How long after did it take you to actually get the ball rolling with getting those businesses started, getting the logos created, just the business aspect?
Well, little by little, I started to build. First it all started with the plug, with uh, the idea of just buying shoes and reselling them at a higher price. And a funny little story is, when I was a manager in the shoe store, my brother is the one who actually introduced me to the idea, and he told me, he was like, "Man, these shoes are really, like, people are willing to pay more for the shoes." So I took that idea, and I actually, the first pair of shoes that I invested in was the Elephant Fives, and the Elephant Fives at that time was 220. So during that price point for that shoe, I think Jordans probably were like 170 at the time. So investing that much into a shoe was really uh, a pretty high value what I did, but we still were able to probably make $50 off the shoe. So little by little, I started to invest, take the money from my investment and sit it to the side. And I would say probably about 6 months to about a year, once I decided to relocate to Birmingham, and I'm more so like in the country area again. Uh, was little by little investing, taking money from my plug investment and putting it into landscaping, push mowers, and riding mowers, blowers, and things like that to actually get my landscaping idea off the ground. And before I actually had my LLC, I was really cutting yards. So I pretty much put that action in before I had a logo, before I had the LLC and everything else. So I think a lot of times people get caught up in their mind of like getting stuff together so long that they pretty much talk themselves out of the action themselves. So like I said before, probably 6 months to about a year, but I did it little by little, and I was cutting grass before the LLC was developed and the logo was developed. So the action was already there, which made it a lot easier to put the logo together, and which made it a lot easier to put the logo together and put the LLC together once it was time. if that answers your question.
Man, it did, man. That's great. So your action, so pretty much from the aha moment to the action, there was no gap. Like you went right after it, like you said, and myself included. You get caught up in the minor details and you just end up not doing nothing. So you jump right into business before you even had a business name. And like, man, that's such a teaching point in itself. And there's a listener out there right now who's in the same place I was with this podcast. I was sitting on this idea for 3 years and I finally got started. Whereas where on the opposite end, you have someone like you who got started before the business name came about. And that's really how you have to do it. Just go after it. Like you have nothing to lose but time. I mean, we ain't getting no younger, so you might as well go after it, man. So much respect to you. And the last part of it is the audacity. What gave you the audacity to go in business for yourself? You already answered that. Pretty much pretty much your uncle and your auntie, just those values they instilled in you, it ultimately gave you the audacity, the courage to be an entrepreneur. Unless you had something else to add to the audacity and courage part. So aside from your uncle and your auntie, what else gave TK the audacity, the courage to step out there with Pop's landscaping and the plug?
Well, when I was younger, I've always had the drive and the hustle. And uh when I first made it down to Montgomery, I was kind of skeptical about like how people thought about me and what they thought about me. And probably around the age of about 14 or 15, that thought just went out of the window, went out of the door. So I was just more so like, hey, if I come to school with fresh Jordans on and fresh jeans, fresh well, we had academic shorts or whatever, the new Jabot shorts or some fresh. It could be fresh. And if I come to school with it, the first person with it, someone is still gonna say, hey, you got a spot on them jeans. Ha 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 ha. They're gonna laugh at it. So
Right.
someone is always going to say something. So at that age in my mind, I say, hey, I'd rather just give it my all and point blank, just give it my all in anything I do. And I let the chips fall where they must. And just from that mindset there, it always helped me just into it always helped me into becoming a young man and developing those businesses and putting those ideas out of there. I mean, putting those ideas out into the universe, because either way, you're gonna lose either way, in my opinion. So why not fall forward, and have the audacity to, you know, make something or create something or put something into the universe. So I always go with that drive and that spirit, and I keep that alive whenever I, create or whatever I do.
Mhm. Man, that's great, man. And I don't know who's out there listening, but if you are a youngin and if you're in your teens, your 20s, your 30s, you just heard a mouthful from the man himself. Don't care what they're gonna think. Time is gonna pass anyway. Do it anyway. If you got an idea, do it anyway. If you want to start a lemonade stand, so what? Somebody gonna laugh. Somebody gonna say, "Oh, it's corny." And what he just said kind of speak to what I was going through as well. It was a self-esteem thing for me as well, starting the podcast. Somebody's not gonna like my voice. Somebody gonna say the podcast sucks. So what? Put it out there. I mean, leave your imprint. Let people know that you live. Let people know that you were here. Leave your mark. So yeah, man, I appreciate you covering those three bases for me: the aha moment, the action, and the audacity. Let's get into the future of the plug as well as Pop's landscaping. What's your ultimate vision for both companies? I know right now you're pretty much a one man army for both companies. Do you eventually want to hire employees and branch out some of the work, or do you prefer to be a one man army?
Hey, that's a good question. So um, as of now, landscaping is pretty much going down a little more because it's getting to your fall time. But I still am looking for young individual, probably from the age of about 15 to about 19. I cut every Thursday and Friday. So if you are listening and you need a job in Birmingham, Alabama, hey, check me out on my social media. And or if you're really serious, leave a comment on Gumptown Podcast and get with Doug B, and he will make sure he gets with me. And if you're really serious about working, I'll get you on this Thursday if you're really serious about it. Um, as far as with Pop's Landscaping, we're still in Birmingham, Alabama, taking information. If you need your cut, let Pop's Landscaping pop your land back into shape, you know. And that's just dealing with the landscaping. But the plug, I got a few things in the makings. For example, I'm thinking about doing Plugg Economics, whereas it's up in the air now. But whereas it's going to be teaching people how to, get into business for themselves and give you the idea, not only the idea, but whereas you'll have the support from myself and my team to actually help you, invest. You'll have access to me. You'll have access to apps, that pretty much would give you the information about the certain amount that you may make off shoes and etc. So that's in the making of it's in the making and it's coming into the light soon. So that's with the plug, and I've already went over Pop's Landscaping. So yep, just let me know, W.
Yes, sir, man. And that goes right into what was gonna be my next question. How can people get in contact with you? Where's your social media? Of course, I'm gonna put all this in the description as well, but how can people contact you on social media?
Okay, so as of now, I am on Instagram. My Instagram name is plug_x. That's PLUGG_X, as well as I'm on Facebook. My Facebook name is Fat Tony Snaps, with two S's. So that's PhatTonySnaps on Facebook. So um, those are the two ways that you could get in contact with me. And like I said, on the podcast, if you just leave a comment on the podcast and let Doug B know that you want to, reach out to me, maybe to buy something or uh, just to say, hey, nice job, or I like your ideas. How can I be involved with Pluggonomics? And, I don't mind connecting people as well or helping out or looking out for anyone. As long as you have the aspiration about, really doing whatever it is you want to do.
Yes, sir. And there you have it. And like I said, I'll put his contact information in the description of the podcast so you all will know how to reach out to him. And one last question, man, before we get out of here, man. If you could use one word, preferably one positive word to describe the Gumptown, what would it be?
One word I would like to use is hustle, man. The hustle, the grind. So Montgomery is more than what people in the world know of it as. You have a lot of trendsetters, a lot of people who, develop ideas and make it. But it all stems from hustle, in my opinion. A lot of us have that hustle, and that's a word that I would like to use if that's a word I would like to use if in describing the Gump.
Yes, sir. Much respect to it, man. Again, TK, man, I want to thank you once again for your time, and I really appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your schedule to stop by and chop it up with me.
Hey, I appreciate it as well, and keep doing your thing, man. It's all about that push, and I'm really, really, really proud of you, bro. I know a lot of people may not say it, but I look at my brothers as eye to eye. So, and I remember you talking about what you wanted to do and what you wanted to do. And I'm real proud that you actually put it in the atmosphere. So you had the audacity to do it and you executed. And I'm proud of you. Much blessings and keep pushing, brother.
Oh man, I really appreciate those words, man. I really appreciate it. Same to you, my brother. Hey, good people. Once again, this has been another great episode of the Gumptown Podcast. But before we leave, remember, be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. We gone. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate your time and your attention. Until next time.